If you don't have an assistant, you are one. And you're probably really and you're overpaid, just so you know. So you don't have an assistant, non-negotiable, go find that person. It'll change your life.
That is the bar of the day, bro. I'm telling you, so many people's feelings are hurt right now. If you don't have an assistant, you are one. Gosh dang. Everybody, we have a very special guest here today, and people that are watching this in the future, just know that we had a lot of fun without you. In fact, we have a live audience even in the house. Let's give it up for the live audience.
What up? What up? What up?
Dan Martell, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to let you take it away, and I'm going to pull myself off the screen so we eat up as little amount of time as humanly possible.
It's an honor. What I'm going to do is share my screen. As Pace mentioned, we're going to do a little bit of teach and then a little bit of talk, the Q&A style. Everybody take out a journal and write things down. It's what's caught, not taught. I'm going to share some things in between conversations that you're going to want to write down. I will tell you when it's a writer downer, but trust me, be prepared to capture the essence of what I'm going to share with you. This is a picture of my hometown where I live. It's called Kelowna, British Columbia. I am Canadian A. And I can't vote, although I'm obviously intrigued because I've always called us the little brother or the big brother of the U.S. And I spend most of my time traveling around the States. I'm actually heading to LA, Nashville, all over. Next time I'm in Scottsdale, Pace, obviously we're going to hang out. But what I want to share with you is this core concept of buying back our time. Because what I realized a long time ago is that poor people trade time to save money. Rich people trade money to save time. Okay, write that down. Poor people trade time to save money. Rich people trade money to save time. So I've just been doing this for 27 years. So when you see me fly around the world on my jet or, share my supercar collection with troubled youth, because that's a big part of my life, I want you to understand that this didn't happen overnight. And if anything, I am 100% proof that if you just wake up every day, you don't have to be that bright. You might think, oh, Dan's a programmer, he must be brilliant. Nope. Turns out I'm not that great. But what I decided to do is just put one foot in front of the other and try to get better. And there was so many struggles, so many setbacks. I mean, it took me 2 failed companies to finally figure it out. I just lucky I started young. So don't make the mistake of comparing your chapter 2 or 3 or 5 to my chapter 27. If you've been doing something as long as I've been doing, trust me, I'm not that impressive. You're probably going to be way more impressive in 27 years if you're just starting. And that, if anything, I want to give you the foundation to help you go even faster. Okay. So here's the first question. When it comes to growing your business, what is the hardest part for you? I want to hear from everybody in the chat. When it comes to growing your business, what is the hottest part for you? I got Melissa says, marketing, time, money, knowing, capital, time, organized cash flow. Let's go, everybody. I see all of you guys in the chat. Sweet. Well, here's what I've learned. Okay. 27 years of building businesses. I've helped thousands of entrepreneurs scale. I actually work with some folks in Scottsdale. Tommy Mello. If you guys know Tommy, he's one of my private clients. I've helped him scale his multi-nine figure empire. And this is what I've learned is every entrepreneur, as they grow, even when you're starting off with one employee, you'll hit this thing called the pain line. And the pain line is a point where growing any more would feel massive pain in your life. What do I mean by this? Well, entrepreneurs will never grow into pain. Write that one down. Entrepreneurs will never grow into pain. If I held a knife to your throat and I said, step forward, you wouldn't step forward because it would mean obviously getting stabbed in the throat. Yet many of you have designed your life to make it impossible for you to grow. So my mission, very simple, help entrepreneurs build businesses they don't grow to hate. Build businesses you don't grow to hate. Write that one down. Okay. Because if you end up doing it the wrong way, then you're going to probably get to what I call one of the 3 S's. Okay. And this is where I get the call. First S is stall. I have my buddy Matt, he owned an electrical company. He said, Dan, I watch your social media stuff. I love what you're about, but is it okay, man, if I don't want to grow? I said, here's the deal, Matt. Let's just break this down. Number one, the world is changing and growing all around you. So, just GDP growth, if you decide to stall, you're slowly dying right off the bat. Number two is your customers that you have today. They're not going to wake up next year and go, I wish that you didn't get better as a vendor. They're going to wish that you got better. They're going to want more from you. They're going to want some innovation. And number 3, I said, who are the 2 people on your team, 3 people on your team that you absolutely love and adore that, he had a team of about 14 people. And he gave me the names. I said, those 2 people, if you decide to stall in the next 12 to 16 months, are going to leave. And the reason why is that if you don't have a vision that's big enough for your team's dreams and goals to fit inside of, they will not stay. They might love you, but they will love you from a distance in somebody else's company. These are all things you should write down. I want you to understand that. So stalling is not an option. Number 2 is sabotage. This one's hard to see. Sabotage, here's the definition. Manufacturing a situation that causes you to fail that's not your fault. Manufacturing. It's your fault. You literally design the situation. Hiring your cousin that you knew wasn't very good. Partnering with somebody that you knew in your stomach, the person wasn't trustworthy. For what it's worth, red flags never go down. Slowly replying to an email that could triple your business in the next 2-3 months, but you drag your feet. I remember one time I got an email from one of my clients, and they had this product and they wanted to sell it to my clients. And I was like, you know what? We've been talking about finding somebody that could do that. And I replied and I said, here's what I need from you. Let me know. We're going to be making this decision real soon. Day 1 goes by, no response. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The 11th day, he replies, sorry, but heads down, busy, blah, blah, blah. Reply. Unfortunately, the opportunity has already been addressed. Most people don't even realize that their emotional state causes them to self-sabotage their growth. Why? We can get into it in the Q&A, but nobody's going to get a penny more than they think they deserve. And if you're operating from a place of reactivity, scarcity, etc., you are literally creating a scenario that's going to cause you to fail. That isn't your fault, but 100% it is your fault. So sabotage. Number 3 is sell. I got a call last week from one of my friends, Jason. He's done. Dan, I want to sell. What do I do? I asked him, why do you want to sell? Give me the reasons, the 2 or 3 things that are just sucking in your life right now. And he says, well, this person quit and there was a big hole. Had one of my vendors hold me accountable as $200,000. He has a multi-million-dollar business. And then he's just frustrated with his team. I said, cool. So here's what I know, Jason, is that what you have just discovered is what's called your complexity ceiling. You have just figured out what you are able to scale. And if you get to that point, it hurts. So instead of actually growing through it, right? Not going through it, instead of growing through it, you've decided that you're going to stop and go do something else. And sometimes people think the grass is greener. Do you know why sometimes the grass is greener? Because it's fake. I see people all over. I mentor a lot of, 15, 16, 17-year-old, and they're always like, what about this thing? What about this thing? I like, look, the grass isn't greener. At the end of the day, you can make money doing anything. If you don't make money in what you're doing, it's because you haven't decided to overcome your complexity ceiling. Selling is just going to delay you having to learn those lessons. Every entrepreneur that gets to $1 million, to 5 million, to 10 million, to 20 million and beyond, all have to learn the lessons of the complexity ceiling that's required for you to be the CEO of that company. So these 3 S's are not the option. Instead, I want to encourage you to consider, this concept called the buyback principle, which states we don't hire to grow our business. We hire people to buy back our time. Why? If you do the first, you don't get the second. If you do the second, you get the first. Right? I call it a capacity over calendar issue. See, a lot of people think, well, I'm going to hire people to do the work, but then they end up doing all the stuff they don't want to do because they hired the person that does the work that they used to do. I like looking at deals. I like doing the real estate thing. All of a sudden now you're the one that's going to get everybody lunches. You're the one that's cleaning up the office. You're the one that's running errands. You did it backwards. You start with your calendar and you look at it and you decide, how do I buy time out of it to keep you doing the thing only you can do that makes you the most money? Not renovations, not, paperwork, not processing your emails till 11 o'clock at night, passing out, waking up and doing the whole thing over and over and over again. I know some of you guys feel attacked. That's okay. That's okay. Here's what we do instead. It's called the buyback loop. And this is the way I think about it. Is anytime I feel pain, I actually just went through this last week. My life is exploding in all the best ways, but it means that my time and the demand on my calendar has become a challenge, right? So what do? I literally followed this process. Okay. I sat down with my assistant. I said, okay, we've got a lot of stuff coming up, a little crazy. Let's walk through it. So first off, 2-week time and energy audit. We took a 2-week audit of the previous calendar in my life. And what I did is I just looked through it because I put everything in my calendar. It's really easy for me to do. But if you're doing this, you just open up your calendar, print it off, and just highlight in red things that take your energy, yellow things that are kind of like okay, but you don't love, and green things that absolutely light you up on fire. Then what you do is for each one of those items, you put a dollar sign next to it. $1 sign if it's like an admin could do it, or $4 signs, up to $4 signs if it's something you'd have to hire like a director or C-level to do, like a big hire. And then what you do is once you've got this audit, and if you haven't put all your stuff in your calendar, then you can just do a timer goes off every 15 minutes and write it down for 2 weeks. So you got to do it over 2 weeks. So you can look at, what you've done with your time. And then you take all the red stuff, maybe the yellow, and anything that's $1 sign, and you grab that into a bucket. And that is the only job you hire for next. That is it. Not a logo designer if you design logos, not a person to do cold calls, not somebody that does managing the projects on a reno. Okay. You want to hire somebody that is going to take the red stuff out of your calendar at the lowest cost. So that's step one. Number two, as soon as I say this, I know what you're thinking. Yeah, but Dan, it's going to take me more time to train this person than do it myself. Has anybody ever felt that? Type in the chat. Type yes if you've ever felt that. It's going to take me more time to train them than for me to do it myself. I know. I've been there. So I'm going to teach you one of my coolest favorite things called the camcorder method. So the way I do it, it's called transfer. So ATF is the buyback loop. Okay. Audit, transfer, fill. Okay. So a guy literally got this tattooed on his body. ATF. I thought that was bananas, but audit, transfer, fill. He wanted to remind himself to always audit, transfer, fill. So audit is the calendar. Transfer is how do we take the stuff we're currently doing and give it to somebody else? Here's how I do it. I'm literally doing it right now. What I do is I record myself doing the work. Why? Because I want to do the work so I get it done, but I also want to capture how I did it so I can give it to somebody else so that I don't have to train them when they start. So it's called the camcorder method because you record yourself doing the work. My buddy Mark one time called me up and he goes, Dan, I know this camcorder method. I read your book. It's awesome, but I don't think you understand how good you are at systems. So it makes it really hard for me to do it. He's a speaker and he wants to speak more. He hates all the admin stuff and the travel booking and stuff. I said, Mark, what's one thing you hate doing? He says, finances. I hate it. I hate creating invoices. I hate following up on receivables. I hate sending somebody my wire. Like these are all things that add no value, that have to get done, that have nothing to do with me being on a stage. I said, cool, Mark, here's what we're going to do. Next time you do anything financially related, okay, make a list, sit down, block time it, 90 minutes, 60 minutes, whatever it is, and then just jump on a Zoom call by yourself, share your screen and record it to the cloud. And then as you're doing the work, talk out loud, talking about what you're doing. I'm creating an invoice. I'm going into this system. I'm searching my emails. I created this label. I then create the invoice. I reply, send it to this person. Now I put it in my calendar, blah, blah, blah. And just record yourself. And here's the thing, Mark, you'll do this 3, 4, 5 times till you feel like you've captured the whole thing that you do every month. And then you're going to hire a bookkeeper. And when you hire them, you're going to give them the videos and you're going to say, you create the standard operating procedure, not you. The bookkeeper creates it. Why? Well, check this out. Now, all of a sudden, you have their expertise, which obviously they went to school for this, so they have best practices. They have your unique way that you like to do things, the way you write your emails and all that stuff. And then they'll create the SOP. The beauty of this is that it now tells you, as the owner, if they understood what was in those videos. So it's kind of like a test. And then the best part, Mark, I was telling them, is that if for whatever reason in 6 months, that person doesn't work out, they get pregnant, they decide they don't want to be a bookkeeper anymore, no problem, because now you got the standard operating procedure they've been following that they created, and you have the videos that are linked at the top called training. And when you hire the next person, they're going to get ramped up like nothing. I call it going from 0 to hero in 14 days. If you join one of my teams, any one of my companies, I want you to know the first 7 to 14 days are pretty much sitting there and watching trainings, videos, recordings. Why? Because it's the stuff we do every day that I don't want the person that does the work to have to take time aside to teach it to you. You can just watch the recording and then they have a little test at the end of the week to say, fill out these 14 questions to let them know if you actually understood what you watched. Game changer. Okay. If you like the camcorder method, type record in the chat. I'm curious. If you guys like the transfer, I just taught it to you, type record in the chat. All right. There we go. You guys are picking up what I'm throwing down. This is perfect. Number 3 is Phil. F-I-L-L. See, I'm not a 4-hour work week guy. That's why I love Pace. Okay. I think Pace is one of the hardest working people in the space, period. Full stop. You guys all know it. It's why you're here. And what I've learned is when you get the time back by hiring, the goal is not to do nothing, to go on vacation, to go hang out on a beach. The goal is to go reinvest that time in things that make you more money. Okay. So right off the bat, if your calendar now has an extra 20 hours a week, those 20 hours should be doing the thing that directly makes you more revenue. Why? Because you got to pay for the hire. So if that's sourcing deals, managing some new renos, raising capital, you need to allocate that time to making more money. Okay. Now, at a certain point, your calendar is going to have so much free space that you don't have enough activity to do that stuff because you bought back some of your time. I'll teach you the whole replacement ladder in a sec. But I want you to consider there's 3 things that you should be doing with that time. Okay. Number 1 is investing in yourself. Okay. But I'm going to give you the 3 different areas. When you have that hour back and you've done as much as you could to make more money, if you have any spare cycles, I want you to ask yourself, what are the skills I have to acquire to get to the next level? I'm here. I want to go there. What is the next skill I have to go learn, study, acquire? Second part are the habits. What are the habits I need to adapt? People don't rise to the level of their motivation. They rise to the level of their habits. The daily standards is how you make yourself better. Check this one. This one you want to write down. People don't buy your presence. They buy your standards. Okay. Some of you guys think, well, I have to be there. The customer hired me. And if I'm not there, then they're going to be mad at me. No, your team can go, but you better have set the standards with your team. You better have shown them through your example that there's a standard and you should train them and hold them accountable to that standard. That's what your customers bought. They didn't buy your presence. They bought your standard. Okay. So that's the habit side. And then the third part are your beliefs. See, you could have all the skills in the world. You could have good morning routines, but if you believe the world is evil, the world is out to get you, the world is limited, the world is a bad place. If you have that mindset, trust me, it will prove you right. And some of you have mindset blockers, money blockers, people blockers, right? Nobody can do it as good as me. I might as well just do it myself. They're going to mess it up. If I give it to this person, they're going to cause me a lot more money than it's worth. Like, you have all these beliefs that are never going to allow you to execute. And that to me is like the bigger idea is how do you translate the skill, the habits into, and it's the character of who you become, because all 3 of those, that's what it is. It's character to actually buy back your time, because it's not the mechanics of it. I want you to understand, all of you guys can follow the productivity thing I just showed you how to do. Time and energy audit, camcorder method. What I've discovered, again, coaching tens of thousands of people to buy back their time. My book right now continues to be the #1 book in time management, small business, and entrepreneurship. Blows my mind. I'm grateful for it. It's kind of bananas. So I've spent a lot of time talking to entrepreneurs that have implemented it. And what I've discovered is the challenge for most people is that when they give the thing away, they have an emotional response that actually makes it really tough. Like, when I say really tough, I mean, I've had people tell me they broke out in hives, they have shingles, they get anxiety attacks, they feel pressure just through the activity of giving something to somebody else and letting go. And that's because they're not doing the work. The beliefs, the inner dialogue, they're not doing the work. So mechanically, you might be able to buy back your time, but if you don't do the work around the habits, the beliefs, and the skills, you just won't be comfortable enough to keep it. And I always say, if you buy back your time, make sure it stays sold. Write that one down. If you buy back your time, make sure it stays sold. Some of you guys hire people and then do their job. It's kind of bananas. I watch people do all the time. They hire a person to do a job and they do the job for the person. That is not what we're doing here. Cool.
Dan, this is so good. By the way, I've taken a bunch of notes. If you look at my desk, I don't know if you can see my desk, but I've got a whole slew of notes. One thing that I think, before I started following you and you became one of my mentors, is I had a really big fear of free time, actually. I was afraid of stepping into the bigger version of myself. And so you giving us the 3 pieces, which is invest in yourself, new habits, and belief systems, actually should be what is filling those empty spaces. I see a lot of people, they don't want to delegate because they're afraid of having that time and going, well, what the heck am I going to do now with all this extra time? And that is such a big takeaway. I found this out when I started talking to Dan about a year ago, is that I was actually afraid of my free time. And so I would not delegate. Also, so that's my favorite part. Guys, I want you guys to put your favorite part in the side chat as well. It's so interesting to me, Dan, about the standards part. It is crazy to me how accurate that statement is. And I don't think I've ever heard you say that. They don't buy your presence, they buy your standards. And I'll tell you what happened to me today. I had a guy ask me, hey, will you come and speak on this stage? We've got 5,000 people. And I said, absolutely. Here's Brittany. She's on my team. I'll put you in touch with her, right? So he goes to Brittany. He doesn't get the answer he wants because Brittany says, Pace is booked out for 6 months. Like we gotta get Pace on your next year's event. So what does the guy do, Dan?
He texts you directly.
He texts me directly. And I'm sure this happens to you all the time, which it makes it so guys like you and guys like me want to have less people have access to us. And it was interesting to me, the standard, right? And so I looked at that just barely. I said, why did he feel the need to come back to me? And I look at that now as a new training procedure to go to Brittany and go, hey, why would he feel the need to come back to me? Is there something I can train her additionally on so he doesn't come back? Is there a way that's going to never come back to me? I think that there's always going to be somebody's going to text me always. But do you think that that's a problem with my standard that she maybe could not have, or she should have given him an expectation of, hey, he's not available, and I'm sure you're going to want to reach out to him and let him know. But I've told Pace to never book on his own calendar. So his answer is going to be the same answer as mine. Is there something I'm missing in my standard of why somebody would come back to me after going to the person I hired?
It's an awesome question because this is the issue. I mean, I have friends that are like 8-figure earners that still have 35 of their customers texting them for support tickets. I mean, so it's a few things. One, I think there's always an opportunity to train your team, not tell your team how to respond to avoid those. So 100% language like, I just sat down with Pace. We reviewed his calendar completely. Unfortunately, he's booked out to 6.
I just sat down with Pace.
I just sat down with Pace.
Yeah. Gosh, dang it, Dan.
You're welcome. I do this quite a bit, but I got some more gold. Ready for this? Second thing is I screenshot that, reply to my assistant and CC that person and paste it into the chat. Why? Because I just taught them how to treat me. So he tried to come around my assistant. I now said, if you text me scheduling stuff, and I'm pretty sure I've done this with you, right? Where you've asked me for stuff and I screenshot it and I send it to my assistant. Why? I don't manage my calendar. So again, we teach people how to treat us. And if we think we're going above and beyond to just like reply to a Facebook message, reply to a text message, what you've just taught that person is if they don't like the answer or they want to get access to me, they just message you on Facebook, they text message you. And then all of a sudden now you're managing all these open loops everywhere. So you didn't really buy back your time.
Here's the thing I know about Dan, because I've learned a lot from Dan. I did not say, Dan, will you do this for me? I said, hey, who can I talk to on your team?
You did.
Because I know he has systems, he has processes. And just an FYI for people, when you get somebody's attention, their cell phone number, you don't reach out to them and say, hey, can I get a moment of your time? It should be, hey, who on your team can I chat with to chat with you about X, Y, and Z? Right? You respect their process and their systems and all that kind of stuff. So literally this morning, somebody replied back to me, Dan, you freaking gave me a bar of gold. I just sat down with Pace and reviewed the calendar together. There ain't no way that guy's texting me back. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. This is awesome. I love your community.
You can take me down there.
They're lighting up the chat. This is great. All right. That's the buyback loop. And you guys just literally watching you guys write those takeaways just fills my heart. So thank you. Here's the big idea. $1 million companies are not built off $10 tasks. Period. Impossible. There's not enough hours in a week and a month for you to build $1 million company trying to do everything yourself. And that is the definition of being an entrepreneur, is learning how to work with other people. If you don't, you're just a highly paid specialist. And look, a doctor can make $300,000 a year. A lawyer can make $300,000 a year. Maybe they can make 500. But if they don't learn to work with other people, that's their cap. That's their complexity ceiling. So I'm going to teach you 2 more quick frameworks. The first one is a replacement ladder. I learned this from a guy named Richard Branson. So I had the privilege about a decade ago to get invited to spend a week with him at his home in Switzerland. And it was bananas. As a Canadian East Coaster growing up in a small town, I read all of his books. I was inspired. And when I got that invite, it was crazy. And I remember when I showed up, there's Tim Ferriss there. There's Brian Johnson from the Blueprint. There's the guy, the co-founder of Square, the payments company just sold, and a bunch of other top Bitcoin miner in the world. I was working on my company, Clarity. And here's what I wanted to learn. Obviously, I was incredibly grateful, massive imposter syndrome. That was for sure present. But what I wanted to learn spending that week with Richard is, how does the billionaire that every other billionaire that they want to be like, how does he live his life? And what I learned was how he interacts with his team, specifically this woman named Helen. And Helen is his executive assistant. I actually think the word executive assistant is very specific and earned. A lot of people call them virtual assistant, assistants, personal assistant. An executive assistant is what Helen is, or Ann is for me, because they route everything. So here's how Richard runs his life. He didn't have a phone. He didn't have, a laptop or anything. Every morning for breakfast, he spends 60 to 90 minutes with Helen. She only brings to him the things that she can't route herself. And many times when she hears his preference on scheduling her calendars or who to talk to or this contact, she then learns and then never has to bring that scenario back to his attention. And then what she does is, while we go off skiing for the rest of the day, she sits in the lodge and routes and connects and moves his whole life forward and pretty much plans the next, 2 to 6 weeks. And it was a beautiful thing to watch. So I came back and I changed my whole life. I had a virtual assistant. I wasn't using it the way that I should. And that philosophy, I watched Richard have the CEO of Virgin Atlantic take a flight and a helicopter to have breakfast with him on his patio. So a lot of people, they're like, I'm going to fly private so I can get around better. Screw that. He's like, you fly private and come to me. That was a game changer. And these are things that I've now incorporated into my life that's allowed me to get massive amounts of time leverage, right? So here's the replacement ladder. The first level is called stuck. And this is the admin level. And the reason why you're stuck is because two things need to be owned by your executive assistant or your admin. Number one is 100% of your inboxes. And when I say 100% of your inboxes, I'm talking email at minimum, but I would even consider having them scan Slack, scan socials, okay? Because you want somebody that's picking things up to make sure nothing gets dropped, and you want them to be the first line of defense for anybody that needs your time. Let's just start with inboxes. Even that one's hard enough for most people to let go. Okay, and in my book, I have a whole framework called the email GPS that teaches you how to set up the folder structure and use delegated authority in your email, not CCing people, to get them access. Actually, if you guys want, I'll do this because you're part of Pace's community. Go find me on Instagram. Here, I'll just put that in here, instagram.com/Dan Martell. Follow me. That's all I ask. Just give me a little follow and then message me the word EA-PACE and I will send you my internal Google Doc. Okay. No opt-in, no nothing. I have an internal Google Doc that I use with my assistant. It's sanitized. It's got our North Star principles. It's got all of our meeting cadences. It's got our email templates. It's got our preference files. It's got things you wouldn't even consider having somebody else know. But that is my gift to this community. But if you don't mention PACE, I'm not going to send it to you. So EA for executive assistant, PACE on Instagram, my gift. So, but you have to give them access to your inbox and 100% of your calendar. So I do not put stuff in my calendar and I do not do email anymore. And for the most part, even with text messages, I use that screenshot, loop them in to teach people to stop asking me questions about scheduling, including my family, just for what it's worth. I know it's annoying, but guess what? I'm moving so fast in the world. I want to be 100% present with you right here. I don't want to worry about what's happening. The meeting could get canceled. My next meeting could get canceled. It'll be filled with the exact type of meeting I need to have with the people I want to move my dreams and goals forward because my assistant knows that. So think about just having somebody move your life unemotionally. That's a big thing. Unemotionally. They don't have emotions around it. They're not opening up the email, marking it as unread, starring it, putting it off. They literally get an email, they process, email, process. So think about how much time, revenue, speed, because they don't have to wait till 11 o'clock at night or the next day to get a response, that you're pulling forward in a calendar year. How much of your productivity revenue are you pulling into a calendar year? For me, my assistant probably gets me 4 to 5 extra months a year minimum that we're pulling forward revenue opportunities into the year because of how much we can compress and organize, so that when I'm working, and when I'm not, I'm not. I'm with my kids, I'm present, I'm with my friends, I'm doing my thing, I'm recharging, I'm with my wife, we're having date night. I don't need to worry about anything because I know she is scanning, monitoring, and managing. So that's number one, is admin. Number two is stalled, and it's because you don't have somebody that helps with delivery or fulfillment, the same word. Okay, delivery or fulfillment. Essentially, you sell something to somebody, and then the customer comes into your world. You should have somebody else on your team. If you have your admin set up, and a lot of times the admin will do this at first, but they'll get busy. Okay, and again, your inbox, when it comes in, they triage, because your inbox, write this down. My inbox is nothing more than a public to-do list of strangers from the internet. Your inbox is nothing more than a public to-do list from strangers on the internet. And you need to protect yourself. Okay, protect your energy, protect your time. Delivery is now, I enroll somebody into my life, they're a customer, I need somebody else to manage and handhold that person. And that's around onboarding and support. The level up from that is friction, because you still have some friction as you're growing, but you're learning some stuff. And it's really around marketing, because if you don't have somebody who wakes up every day to focus exclusively on campaigns, right, and traffic, then you might be, feast and famine. I had a friend of mine, Rachel, she had a marketing agency, and she just would literally every 9 months, it would be no customers, work for 9 months, then no money. Then her revenue went up, down, up, down. She didn't build a marketing system. So at this level, if you have somebody on the admin side buying back all your time, you're doing all the thing that makes you money. Then you have somebody on delivery side. So you're really focused on the thing that makes you the most money. You're starting to build out the marketing system. Then you hire somebody that wakes up. It could be part-time, that takes care of marketing. That is huge. Level 4 is freedom. And the reason why is because it's sales. You want to keep sales till the end, because a founder will communicate their passion and certainty for what they have better than any other person on your team. But as you scale, your number one strength becomes your Achilles heel. Write that one down. As you scale, your number one strength becomes your Achilles heel as you grow. And sales is a beautiful thing to let go. Somebody else takes care of the follow-up, because you're literally the worst salesperson. Even though you can sell well, your follow-up game is weak, and that's where the fortunes are made. You're probably not responsive enough. New opportunity comes in your inbox, you schedule it for next week. Sales guys like, hey, let's talk right now. I just called. They literally look, oh, boom, click, call. Hey, you want to do this? Oh, wow, that's fast. Yep, we're serious about what we do. And the reason I call it freedom is because I'm talking 4 hires, not 12, not 25, not 50. 4 people you hire in this sequence, and all of a sudden now you go on vacation and you can literally take some time off, turn the brain off, and be present and available for the people you love the most. Bananas. Think about this. You now can go away and come back and make money while you're sleeping on vacation with 4 hires. Level 5 is flow. And this is leadership. Okay. And this might just be like a partner to come in and run these departments for you. This could be, somebody take half of the responsibilities. But the key is when you hire somebody that's a leader, I want you to understand this, because leaders, first off, you're not a leader unless you have followers. Most people call themselves leaders. They have nobody that's willing to follow them. And 2, they need to own the strategy and the outcomes. They need to own the problem solving and the strategic planning. Okay. If you have to tell somebody what to do, they're not a leader. And 2, they need to be 100% accountable for their numbers and their outcomes. Okay. And that's where everybody wants to be the leader until now you're responsible for other people's results. It's no fun when all of a sudden the big dog got to be responsible for, not very smart dogs doing work that's unacceptable. And then all of a sudden you're responsible for it. And you're like, this isn't fair. That's what's called leadership. But when you get to this place, it feels like flow, because you can move through the world at the speed of ideas. And that's kind of the world I live in. My definition of empire, just so y'all know, is a life of unlimited creation you never have to retire from. Write that one down. Empire equals a life of unlimited creation you never have to retire from. I never want to feel like I'm held back from creating because I've created a scenario where I'm the bottleneck. And the reason we call them bottlenecks is because they're at the top. So if you don't have an assistant, you are one.
Damn.
And you're probably really and you're overpaid, just so you know. So you don't have an assistant, non-negotiable. Go find that person. It'll change your life.
That is the bar of the day, bro. I'm telling you, so many people's feelings are hurt right now. If you don't have an assistant, you are one. Gosh, dang.
I know how to make it hurt on purpose from a place of love.
Give me a crying emoji in the side chat, everybody. Oh my gosh, I've never heard that, but that's really, really good. If you don't have an assistant, you are one. Dan, real quick on your email. I know that I brag about being 0 inbox every day. I take my inbox down to 0 every day. You bragged to me one day of having 0 emails.
Yeah, 0 inbox, I call it.
You call it 0 inbox. I empty my inbox. You don't even check your inbox. Is that correct?
No more emails. Dan doesn't do emails.
Dan doesn't do emails. That's another tattoo you guys can put on your ass. I like that one.
Yeah, right above the butt.
Gosh, that is so good. And here's a question. I know that you do coaching. You're one of my mentors. I look up to you in so many different ways. You will look up to me with how much beef I will put on my chest in the next year, but I look up to you every other way. Do you have an executive assistant training program? Like, will your EA train other EAs? Do you guys have anything like that?
So what I have is essentially a course inside of my coaching that's called Buy Back Your Time 2.0. And it's essentially the other stuff that's not in my book that I developed. You know, when you write a book, it's like you print it. And then as soon as it's printed, you're like, but I got all this new stuff I created. And there's, the 201 level. So that's part of my coaching. But I don't sell it separate because to me, I'm more interested in working on the psychology of getting people to let go, not the mechanics of it. I mean, the book Buy Back Your Time's got it all there. But if people, have a hard time with actually using the folder structure, it's not, they don't know how to do it. They don't feel comfortable with it. And that's what I coach against. That's my favorite part.
Got it. Makes a lot of sense. And for the people that want to get into your coaching, how do they get there?
Just message me Elite on Instagram. If you're on Instagram and you follow me, just message me ELITE. And we can see if it's a fit. But again, I only work with people that are swimming towards me. So if you're new to my stuff, go consume it, go watch it. It's all free. It's all there. And then if you want to move faster, then just message me.
Gosh dang.
Sweet.
If you don't have an assistant, you are one.
Yeah. And the 0 inbox is like, that was a weird one for me because I thought, well, that's crazy, Dan. And then my assistant and I, we just figured out a rhythm where, we meet every day. She pulls the emails to my attention that she doesn't know how to respond. Oh, this is a cool thing. She'll write the draft email response for me. And on the call, she'll show it to me and I'll go, just change this word. And then she'll hit send. So she does everything, 98% of it. It's just, I just talk. I don't do finger typing. I'm a talker, dude. You're a talker. I'd rather talk things forward, not type them forward. It's way more efficient.
Yeah. You're speaking my language. I wake up before my workout. Again, I'm going to be bigger than you in a year. Before my workout from 3 a.m. to about 5:30 a.m., I'm answering emails, Slack messages, text messages, etc., because I haven't gotten that part figured out. And I've got multiple assistants and multiple operators. I've got a big operation going on. That's my next thing that I'm going to tackle. So thank you for that. And thanks for all the help that you provide. Guys, did Dan freaking deliver today or what? My God.
My pleasure. You guys are incredible.
Hey, Dan, thank you so freaking much for being here. We appreciate you. And we're so grateful for you coming in here and loving on us today. Thank you.
My pleasure. Hope to hang soon, Pace. Talk soon.
Thank you, brother.
All the best, everybody.
Who went to SquadUp Summit last year? Okay. Basically this whole entire room. When did you wait? Like, how long did you wait to buy your ticket?
Right away. Yeah.
Right away?
Yeah.
Why is it that you didn't? Why not? Tell me why.
Well, first, I thought you were a scam.
Will you please give the man a microphone, guys?
No.
Okay, people can hear that. So you thought I was a scam.
I didn't know anything about you, and I met you through a friend of mine who is a gator.
Okay.
And he told me about you, bragged about you for like 2-3 months. We were in a multifamily apartment underwriting boot camp together. And I was like, no, I don't want to hear it. And so finally I gave in and came to SquadUp Summit.
Oh, sweet.
So yeah.
And how cool was that event, by the way?
It was awesome.
Insane.
Never been into anything like it.
I hadn't either. And I speak at every event. Honestly, it was the greatest event I've ever been to. The energy. Here's why SquadUp Summit, the number one reason why SquadUp Summit is the best. Because we've been a solid community for 5 years. And once you're in, you stay in. Versus like you go to a boot camp, guess what? Once that boot camp is over, everybody's out.
Yep.
And yeah, you'll keep some of those relationships for a couple of months, but then it slowly dissipates and like regular life takes back over. What's cool is the way that we have built this community is that the energy of 5 years is what you felt in that room.
Yes.
And the networking, it's like people are going there to not even, who cares about me or the speakers? What they care about is all the people they've been doing deals with all throughout the year. It's like a family reunion. And the energy of that room is just so freaking powerful. And so this year we had 2,000 people last year. This year we'll have 3,500 people. And it will be so much more organized on the networking side. The hotel's a little bit bigger. And it's not so far East Coast. Like that was a little hard. Where do you live?
Atlanta.
Okay, so that was easy for you.
Yeah, it was easy. Yeah.
And Dallas is easy for you too.
Yeah.
Atlanta is the best city in the whole entire country, I think.
Oh yeah.
I freaking love Atlanta.
Hands down.
The thing that is different is that most people are like, hey, buy the ticket to my event. And the event starts at the event. And so what I want to do is for SquadUp Summit 2025 is that I want SquadUp Summit to start in January. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring in one massive speaker in January, another one in February, and another one in March for only people that have the SquadUp Summit tickets that are like big names, big names. And then SquadUp Summit itself will be the biggest name. Massive people. Like we've got somebody that's, when you guys hear this person, you go, how did you get that person? I'm like, I don't know. I just had to scam them, I guess. All right, guys, get your SquadUp Summit tickets. We'll see you guys later. Love you guys.